And we're back. Hey, it's Darren Carter, the party starter. January 27th, I will be at the Bellflower Comedy Club, the stand-up comedy club in Bellflower. Ring-a-ding-a-ding, Bellflower. January 27th. Also, I will be in Dallas, Texas at TK's February 3rd through the 6th. And I want to thank everybody for commenting and getting involved on the YouTube channel. Now let's call Mike Black.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. Yeah. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to a pocket party. Pocket party.
Mike Black. Mike Black is back.
Hello.
Hello. Is this the one and only Mike Black?
Hey man, how's it going?
It's good. It's good. This is your. I assume this is your cell number.
It's the same one it's always been.
That's cool. Remember the old days when people would have like a home phone? There'd be like 16 roommates, and you have to ask for like, is Mike there?
I guess I didn't have 15 roommates. I never served time.
You never exactly. Yeah. Collect call from Clark County Detention Center.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember those days? No. Yeah.
I did not remember those days.
I know. I remember receiving a couple of those phone calls from people that were locked up. It's like, collect call from. You're like, ugh.
I just wanted to wish you a happy new year.
Yeah, exactly. Wondering if you could send me something, some cash or some cereal.
Yeah. Ramen.
Yeah, ramen. Oh, God. Yeah. Did you, what's the most roommates you've ever had? Or have you had roommates?
The most I ever had was 3. And I realized very quickly that I was not meant to live with roommates.
Oh,
and so this was my my junior year of college. No, my sophomore year of college. And then about halfway through, I moved out in the middle of the night. I was like, I don't want to even talk to these people anymore. So I just loaded up my car and took off.
And moved to Beverly. He loaded up his car and he moved to Beverly.
Yeah, I lucked out. A friend of mine had a place that they were leaving, and it was a little like 1-bedroom apartment under a cop's house who was a parole officer.
Whoa!
So I was like, "Oh, this will be a good, safe place because that guy's no one's gonna start any crap here, you know."
Right. See,
and
that we're thinking logical. I think the same thing, you know.
Yeah, and it worked out. And the guy was he was a great guy, but he was interesting too. I had a pretty big movie collection because I had worked at a Blockbuster for a while, and so as I was moving in, he was so impressed by that. He goes, "You've got movies on tape?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "I have 2 movies." And I was like, "Oh, okay. What movies do you have?" He goes, "I got Ghost, starring Patrick Swayze, and Demi Moore, and I've got Blade Runner, starring Harrison Ford. Do you know how many times I've seen Blade Runner?" I don't. How many? I don't know. You need help with any of these boxes? No, I'm good.
Yeah. He kind of was curious to see what movies you had, huh? Like,
yeah, but I was like, what a weird question. Do you know how many times I've seen Blade Runner? No, how many? I don't know. I thought you might know.
Yeah, and he was almost like, oh, wow, I got my own personal Blockbuster moving below me.
Yeah. It was mostly, as a young college kid, it was mostly like booby movies I taped off of Cinemax.
So you weren't that interested in letting someone rifle through your movie collection.
Right, no, it's like, it's not the kind of thing you lend out, really. It's like, you just keep it if you're going to take it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want it back.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Oh, yeah, that's one of the perks when you do have roommates, when you guys can combine movie collections. Like, Like, oh, look
Yeah.
what I have. Or back in the day, CD collection. I mean, there was a lot of things that you wouldn't even...
The only thing you don't want to do is get on the same like video store account
Oh, yeah.
with someone else. We got messages at my place when I was with a bunch of people where there was a message that came in every week from Video Hut saying, whichever one of you rented The Adventures of Spot, the 7-Up can mascot Nintendo 64 game, you owe us $138.
Oh, no.
Because you still have not returned it. And I was like, man, that must be one hell of a game that I got playing downstairs.
I guess it's that fifth roommate that we never see. He's always just in that fine,
Right, and what's funny is it was like, no, that was definitely one of the guys.
Oh, you knew who it was, too.
Yeah, I knew who it was. But I was like, that game isn't even like a game. They shouldn't have been renting it because it's a free game. You got it if you, like, turned in 3, like, proofs of purchase from 7-Up. They just sent it to you. It was a stupid, like, commercial video game. It didn't even count as a video game.
Oh, no, and he's running up bad credit over that.
Right, he ran up $138 down.
Oh my gosh! Can somebody please turn in their missing Monopoly pieces from McDonald's?
Right.
You're like
my other roommate he had put up these big signs that said Irish parking only over his parking space.
Yeah.
And all this like Irish folklore and like the Celtics memorabilia and whatnot in his place. And his parents came to visit and they were like, are you just storing this stuff for St. Patrick's Day or what? And he's like, no, I just thought it would be good, to get in touch with the family heritage. And, Dave, honey, we're German. And it was like, oh man, I can't live here anymore.
He's like, this is my Irish heritage. I'm really trying to connect with something that's. It's funny when I remember when I was a kid, I was told I was German, Scotch, Irish, and English. And when you're a kid, sometimes people ask, "Hey, what are you?" or whatever. I don't know about where you grew up, but that's what they'd ask us. And then, so I remember telling this one older girl, she was a neighbor, my grandpa's neighbor actually. She lived in my grandpa's neighborhood. I didn't know her that well, but I remember I was like, I'm German, Scotch, Irish, and English. But when I said Scotch, she was like, Scotch, like Scotch tape. and I must have been about 4 or 5 or 6 somewhere. I was very young, and I remember like, oh, let me just leave that part out from now on. So for like a good couple of years, I would just be like, I'm German and Irish and English, and then
it's like the Swiss and the people I forget exactly what the distinction is, but it's like they're not Swiss, they're Dutch. Or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, there's certain,
Or you don't speak Swedish, you speak German or what have you. All sorts of, like, weird things. So I had a friend named Dane who he was always either getting hell about getting it wrong or giving other people hell about getting it wrong. So,
I know, or the part when I would...
fact about Switzerland is we don't actually like cocoa. Nobody cares.
Exactly. I'm just a guy. I'm just a kid growing up in Fresno. All right. Like I remember they would be like sometimes every now and then I'd get some person, older person usually, when I would be like, I'm German, Irish, English. They'd be like, Irish and English. Well, those people don't get along. And I was like, oh, I didn't. I don't know. I just
evidently they did once.
They did once. Yeah.
Here I am.
I know. So, and then of course, it depends on what phase you're into. Like that guy, he probably, like if he was going through like an Irish phase, he might have been like, oh, let me really gravitate towards the emerald hills and the green and the leprechauns and all that kind of, and then it's so.
Well, he had a very Irish sounding name too.
Oh, yes.
Somewhat leprechaunically.
It probably all came back to the girls. Like, what will get me the most interest from the ladies?
What girls are going to be in. And I think a lot of his friends were Irish, and so they just decided he was Irish.
That's funny. Yeah, that was a popular thing back then. Parking for farmers only. I remember buying a farmers only sign, for my in-laws back in the day. Parking for farmers only. It's more like a goof, like they'd have all these signs.
Yeah.
Parking for comedians only. Parking for,
Yeah. Barbarians only, all sorts of,
barbarians
yeah.
only. Until your parents come to town and blow the cover and the jig is up.
It's funny. I went to Rome once, and they had a no parking sign, but instead of a car being towed away, it was a chariot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of funny.
You're like, that's funny. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking about that with roommates. I remember when I first moved to LA, here's my very first roommate experience. I was standing in line at the Laugh Factory. They do that thing on Tuesdays. The first 20 people can get on stage. And so I was told that's how you kind of get into the Laugh Factory. Like you can, and this is back in the 90s. And at that time I lived in San Diego. So I remember driving up from San Diego. And at that time I lived solo in San Diego, which was great. I rented a room in a Victorian house. It was awesome. The rent was $300, but if you rake the leaves, it was $285. So I used to do a joke about it back then. I go, towards the end of the month, I'd be out there shaking the tree. Come on, big money. Save me that $15. And I would and I remember driving from San Diego through morning traffic, through Camp Pendleton, then Orange County traffic, then finally arriving in LA. And it must have been around, I don't know, 11 in the morning. And there was already 20 people in line. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh yeah, we start early up here. And I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? But then luckily some person was like, hey, I've got stuff to do. If you want to have my spot, that's cool. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. So I end up standing in line or sitting down or whatever, from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. And then you actually do the sign up, and then you do the 2-hour break, and then you come back and do your 3 minutes of comedy, and then at the end, the owner Jamie Masada would critique you or whatever, or give you pointers or whatever. Did you ever do that? Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
You did? Cool. You did it one time.
Yeah, I was like, this is not the way to go about my career.
Right. That's so cool. You did it.
I don't think it is. I think it would have been cooler if I looked at it and was like, nope. But
what year did you do it? And if you were to guess.
God, this would have been right when I moved out here. I was still like real wet behind the ears and up for anything. And I was like, probably 2001, 2002. But I saw all the other losers, and there's no other way to put it. Just anyone who's willing to stand for 6 hours.
I know people bring lawn chairs like it's a concert.
What was it? 3 minutes of stage time?
3 minutes of stage time, yeah. Because I would have done it in, oh my God, dude, this is how long ago. For me, it was probably like 94, 95.
Yeah. It was ridiculous then. It was ridiculous when I did it.
And they're still doing it.
But yeah, they still do it. And it's like, there's a lot of things that happen to weed people out of the business.
Right.
That shouldn't be doing it. That honestly shouldn't be doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I should have recognized what that was right away, but I didn't. I was like, okay, I'll do it once. And I did it, and Jamie talked to me afterwards. He gave me some nothing earth-shattering, like, stick with it, we'll see you in a month or whatever. And I was like, great. And I was like, I'm not coming back to do this again. But it's like, if I got a spot out of it, sure.
Yeah.
But it was like, come back and see me again, and we'll do it again. No, we won't do it again. It's kind of like in the improv world, they have all these classes, that you have to take before you can do a show. And it's like, no, if you're funny, you can do a show. Yeah, and you don't need to get permission from any of the 3 big houses to do it. You can just go rent a theater and do a show if you want to do one. But like my buddy Ted Twyman cut through the bullshit on that real quick.
Oh, that's cool.
Like, yeah, I auditioned for I won't say the name of the company, but he said the guy running the audition was very impressed. He told me that I qualify for their most expensive class.
Yeah.
And it's like there's stuff like that it's just kind of like
Right.
it's very predatory, I think, on young hopeful people getting into the business.
Totally. In fact, I remember being in an acting class, and for me, it was perfect because I was on the intermediate level, which was a Monday night, and
Uh,
then I was like, oh, it's great when I come back from the road, I just gotta, I could land on Monday morning, take a nap afternoon, and then boom, get to class on, over there in Hollywood or Wilshire, wherever it was at, and then after about a year, he was like, hey, I'd like to put you in our master class. And that's on Thursdays, which is, terrible for a
yeah,
comic, especially when you're touring a lot. And
right.
I was like, ugh. Like, they told him my situation. He's like, okay, you can, he basically let me hang back on Mondays and just keep paying him the whatever it was a month.
Right.
And I remember telling Jimmy Brogan that night because I just happened to have a spot at the Comedy Magic Club or the next
Yeah.
night. And I was like, hey, I just got put in the master class, but I don't think I can do it because and I was just kind of like, should I do it, not do it? Like, and then Jimmy was like, Darren, and then he kind of broke it down. Like, I mean, this guy had his own sitcom and stuff. So
Yeah.
he kind of could see through all the BS. And he's like, a lot of times they want to make more room, more chairs for the up and coming. But he goes, I'm sure if you'll tell him, hey, this is what works for my travel schedule. Can I continue just to pay the same rate?
Yeah.
And he was right. And then eventually, actually, I'll tell you, I think when my wife got pregnant with our son, I was like, that's where my priorities really changed, where I'm like, damn, do I need to be taking this acting class or do I need to
I mean, a lot of that stuff is good for socializing and like
Yeah.
networking and stuff like that, but they dangle the idea that, like the Laugh Factory kind of dangles the idea that you'll become a big regular there. And it's like, that maybe one in a billion people that happens for.
Right.
But for the
Yeah.
most part, if you look at their lineups, it's people that have some sort of viable TV credit that they got somewhere else.
Right. No, I actually was one of those luckier people because, I think I did it maybe 3 times but you're right. Around that same time is when I became paid regular by Mitzi at the Comedy Store. So, they kind of know that it wasn't, you know what I mean? They kind of know like, oh, this guy, things are happening for him here. And then I think I booked a Miller beer commercial and I booked a movie. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those had
so
a lot to do with
Yeah,
it.
they had a lot. It wasn't just, oh, I saw you do 3 minutes and you crushed. But although, and what you said earlier about just the whack pack of people that are out there, I mean, out of the 20 people, especially when I did it, out of the 20, I would say it would be like me and maybe one other person, maybe 2 people total, maybe 3 people total had any experience. The rest were just weirdos. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What I did was the store because I liked their system a lot better. It was basically just a lottery.
Oh, that's
And
better.
you didn't have to stand there in front of the place all day holding your spot.
Yeah.
They just
Getting
they were
heckled
like
by
picking a number
drive-by.
out of a hat. If you got one of these numbers, you get a set next week. If you didn't, you don't buy.
Yeah.
And you were done in 5 minutes and could go on with your life. You know? And I was like, I respect that a hell of a lot more than, oh, I need people lined up out in front of my club as free advertising for the club.
Right.
You know,
And I remember like people would drive by and yell out stuff, or like,
and they were right. The
Yeah.
people that yelled out, "Losers! You guys are losers!
I know.
You guys suck!" or whatever.
Yeah.
Because if you're waiting 6 hours to do stand-up,
Yeah. I think
For
at that time
3
I
minutes.
had no idea what I was like. How else can I do? I don't know what to do. So that was,
it
like,
is an accurate assessment
right.
of your stand-up.
Exactly. I know. One of the things I got out of it though was I did get my first LA roommate. Like I had no LA connection. I didn't know where I was going to do. And there was this other guy that was in line, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for a roommate." And I mean, I think at that time, dude, check this out. The room that he was renting in his North Hollywood apartment was $250, and I was like, "Oh, I can afford that." So, and then of course the caveat comes where it's like, "Oh yeah, but the reason it's so cheap is we also rent out the living room to someone else, and then we rent out the garage, and you're like, oh my. And there's one bathroom, and there's no refrigerator. So I remember there was like no refrigerator when I moved there, and I was like, wow. And so we would like,
Yeah.
you know, there was like a fenced in, like, because it was a guest house in front of behind a bigger house, so we could like, if we had anything that was like, the house would get hot in the valley, but you could put your, you know, not your total perishables, but things that would, you know, I remember a lot of times we'd put them in the backyard because there was like this big shade tree and stuff. It was just ridiculous. It was like half camping, half, you know, but.
Yeah, there's a lot of that stuff that's just like, it's kind of a cottage industry of, you know, it's funny because of like everything going digital and being able to do so much on your phone. A lot of the businesses have died off. Like there used to be, even up to like the last 10 years, there were businesses that were all about, we'll print up 500 headshots.
Oh yeah.
You know, for $500, and all these photographers, professional photographers that were making a ton of money on photos and stuff like that. And some of them were really, really good, but a lot of them were just this side of glamour shots.
Yeah.
You know, and they were charging like $500 a session and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I guess.
And that's the thing, when sometimes you get a recommendation, oh, you have to go to this photographer, but you don't realize that person's getting a kickback. So they're like, you know,
Right.
they're recommending their friend, or there's some guy they're giving him because they're giving him a deal on something else, or they're giving him a.
Well, and comedy has that too, the bringer shows and stuff like that. It's like,
yeah.
Oh yeah, if you bring, you know, 4 people to the show and they each order $10 worth of food, you'll get to go up in one of the prime spots. And what they're not telling you is that the guy booking the show is getting a big chunk of that money. You know?
I know, and I just remember back then it was like the '90s when I moved there. So like we had like the one house phone, you know. So there,
Yeah.
you know, and I had but I did have a beeper, so there was some sort of independence to be like, let me page you and that kind of thing. But yeah, the whole beeper, and you're waiting for the person to get off the phone, and you got to make a phone call. You got to, you know, everybody was pretty cool because it'd be like, hey, I got to call. I got to make some calls between 1 and 1:30. Can I have the, you know, so there, you have to negotiate with your roommates, but it was just like, but now you have the cell phone. You could be in your own room. You don't even need each other, really.
Yeah. Yeah, now you do like self-tape auditions and stuff like that, you know. It's become so much easier to do all that kind of stuff. You know, before COVID, you were still like, at 9 a.m., go to this place and audition. And now it's just like, can you tape yourself auditioning on your phone and send it to us? Sure.
Yeah, that's way better. What else is happening, Mike? I haven't talked to you in a
lot of
10
deaths.
days. A lot of debt?
Deaths.
Deaths. Oh, dude. Speaking of that, you know, I didn't want to mention because you and I were recording a podcast, the last episode, 206, and we did like a funny news story. And I thought, and as we were talking, I thought, oh, this is a good news story. Let me see if there's any little lighthearted news stories. And so as the podcast was happening, I glanced at my phone real quick, went to Twitter, see what was trending, and the number one thing was that, you know, the passing of Bob Saget. And I didn't want to bring it up because it was so like, oh my God. And we had like, you know, we literally had like 10 minutes left on the episode. So I just put my phone away, didn't look at it, and just tried to maintain like a, you know, like, yeah, that was very shocking, and it's a lesson for me. Like, don't look at my phone, which I don't normally look at my phone, but as I'm recording something with somebody. But man, that was. Did you know Bob Saget at all? Did you work with him?
I only worked with him once. He was really nice. I kind of have the idea as a host that, like, I knew what his deal was that, you know, he was America's Dad, very TV friendly personality, but when he did stand up, he was really dirty, you know, and so that would often surprise the audience that would come out to see him, you know. And knowing that, you don't want to be the one that blows the surprise,
Right?
And so I was like, I'm the host. If I'm dirty, they're just going to know that he's going to be dirty or whatever, And so I just asked him, I was like, would you prefer me to work clean when I'm hosting? And he goes, no, you do whatever you want to do. And in fact, try and fit the C word into my intro somewhere. And I was like,
Wow.
okay. And I knew he was kidding around, but I was, I thought that was a nice and funny way of saying, just don't worry about it. Just do whatever you want to do,
And that's like the coolest thing you can hear is when you're opening for someone and they're like, just do you, man. Don't hold back. Do whatever you want to do, and we're good. As opposed to comics sometimes that are maybe insecure or whatever, they might be like, hey, can you not do that video game bit, and maybe like don't do so much Star Wars material, and
right.
or whatever.
And it's like, I get it if they have like a whole half hour on a specific topic. If they're like, could you shy away from that because I'm going to be doing an entire special on that topic.
Yeah.
I get it, but it's like, for the most part, I do love it when they let you kind of just do what you want to do, provided it's funny.
Yeah.
I think that should be the only, and that should go without saying, but it doesn't.
I know. I remember when I worked Vegas once, I was the opening act, and then the feature on stage would say some number like 1,000, and then the headliner also would say a number, 1,000. And I remember he was sort of chewing out the feature like, Mike, I say 1,000. Why do you have to say 1,000? Can't you make it 900? And I was like, wow, that guy's really nitpicking. Like, he's really down to like the number. Like,
Yeah, I had a comic who he was kind of like trying to intimidate me in the limo. And he was headlining, and we both did jokes that had pirates in them. The jokes were not similar at all, but they both had mentioned pirates. And he was like, we don't have a lot of stuff that overlaps. Well, I have a pirate joke, and you have a pirate joke. And, you go up before me. And so I just, like, turned and looked him dead in the eye, and I was like, do you want me to cut my pirate joke? And he was like, no, keep it. And I was like, okay.
Yeah. You're like, "Arr, matey, do you know what I mean?"
Yeah, I was like,
yeah.
Just say it. If you really have, an issue like that, just let people know. Don't dance around it,
Yeah. Oh, man.
I don't like dancing around shit anyway, so it's like, just either say it or shut up.
Right. I remember, what's funny is I was just gonna say, I remember like I had this headliner that was like that back when I was opening, and I remember we were in Sacramento or something, and there was a dartboard backstage, and this guy had been like sort of needling me all week, and trying to big time me, and then and I was probably really insecure, but this guy was also overly cocky, and he was probably insecure that way too. And I remember we were playing darts backstage while the feature was on. I remember I was opening, he was headlining, so there was a middle act in between us. And then as I'm playing darts, I remember like completely missing the dartboard, and he was like, God, do you suck at everything?
Wow.
I know, dude. And I should have just like laughed it off, but I was just like, oh man, I really hate this guy. Like, like it was just like, That's
some severe insecurity.
I know. Because we weren't friends. I met him that week. You know what I mean? We weren't like buddies or nothing.
Yeah, man. It's so funny. There's so much insecurity right now because no one's doing shit.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're all doing like little projects on our own and stuff, but no one has anything really.
Yeah, it's not like there's tons of comedy clubs that are wide open
going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but like a while back, a comic.
How do you like the show so far? Pretty good, right? By the way, here I am acting with John Travolta in the movie Be Cool. Check it out. If you like the show and you want to show your support, every little bit helps. Go to DarrenCarter.com. I'm on PayPal or Venmo at Darren Carter Comic on Venmo. Also, I'm available on CAMEO. All right, let's get back into the show. Oh, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.
He's not a comic anymore, but just a guy that hangs out. Was at a club with me, and he was like, And we started around the time, he goes, and I stopped doing it about like, oh man, 5 years ago. When do you think you'll stop?
Oh no.
It's like, are you asking when I'll give up doing comedy?
Mm.
I guess when they stop booking me, asshole. You know, it's like,
Oh,
what a stupid question to ask someone else. And I knew it was like what happens a lot of times when people quit or they move away or what have you. They're so insecure about doing that they want reassurance that it was a good idea, so they want to drag a few people with them,
yep,
you know?
yep.
And it's like, just do it. Just do it and be cool with it. Or stay and stick it out, one of the two, but don't it it shouldn't matter what anyone else is doing. You shouldn't be comparing yourself to anyone else anyway, because it just doesn't work like that.
I
It's
know.
not, if I write 100 jokes on Monday and I do it every Monday, in 5 years exactly, I'll have a TV show. That's not how it works.
Mm-mm.
It just, there's so many variables that are so far out of your control
And
that,
yeah,
you know,
and
getting jealous and petty or weird with other people,
yeah.
it doesn't do you any good. It just makes you look like an idiot.
I know. Like I've been seeing a lot of those kind of posts lately on social media with comedians where they're like, "Have you guys been checking out the lineups on these various comedy clubs? We need to see more fill in the blank." And I'm just like, and then of course it's a lot of people that are like cheering them on, like, "That's right, speak your truth." And I'm just like, you know what? Just don't focus on that. Focus on what you can control. I mean, that's
Yeah,
you know,
right. Yeah, if you want that, start running a show and booking.
I know. It's
You know,
it's
it's
like,
not it's
yeah,
not rocket science. It's not.
right,
LA right now is starving for people to rent out spaces or venues,
yeah,
or
yeah,
bars would
parking
love
lots,
to
any of
have.
that stuff. Yeah,
Any of the bars that are in business right now are just barely in business. So if a comic that knew what they were doing came in and said, "Hey, would you like us to turn Tuesday into a party where you sell a lot more drinks than you normally would and have free entertainment here?" Yeah, I think they'd go for that.
yeah, especially music venues because they already have the stage, the lights, the sound system. I mean,
Exactly.
you know,
And stand up, you do not need much to set it up.
I
It's
know.
just, please turn off all the TVs. That's all we ask.
Oh, I know. I was gonna tell
Turn
you.
off all the TVs
Yep.
and let me bring my first Sony microphone,
Yeah. The yeah.
and we'll do a show.
Yeah.
You know,
We've done it
it's
before in
not that
people's
hard.
houses. I know.
Yeah, we
But
did. We literally performed in someone's house that way.
in Simi Valley,
Yeah.
we're like, give me
And
your.
we didn't even make them turn off the lights. We were like,
I
nah,
know.
whatever. You know, it's not a hard thing to set up. So if you're like, oh, there needs to be more of this kind of comedy or that kind of comedy, create a show and go do it. Go make it happen.
I know.
And then when it becomes big and popular, you pitch it to the clubs. You go, hey, you
Yeah.
guys don't have anything going on Wednesday. Our show is entirely this kind of comedy, whatever thing you want to do. And we're making real money. Uh, let's talk about us doing it here, you know?
We were talking about material overlaying, and then sometimes it's nice to look at it. Like you said, it's one thing if you're going to film a special and it's all about X, Y, and Z, but
Right.
if it's a little, I found a challenge the other day. I've been doing this bit where I do my take on the trend of women being called Karens.
Yeah.
And my take is more like the positive take, where I'm like, hey,
Mhm.
there's a lot of good Karens out there, people in our lives that we love. Our
Yeah.
moms, our sisters, our aunts. How about a round of applause for the good Karens? And they applaud. Because, imagine you're just going through your life and all of a sudden your name becomes the boogeyman or the
The
bad thing.
problem. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, I went with that angle, and it's kind of cool because, and a secondary effect of that is I did a video on that, and then and I actually sent it to a Facebook Karen group, and they loved it and they shared it. So that was actually pretty cool.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
and
That's
the
100 people on your side that weren't
right,
yesterday,
because it's easy to do the negative. So my point is, and so I do that, and that's positive. And then my little take on it is, And I go, by the way, I say that almost for a selfish reason because Karen, well, my name is Darren and I'm one letter away, you know, and I go,
Yeah.
I don't want that to be the male version. And then I'm like, oh, look, here comes a Karen and a Darren. And then I have the
Yeah.
The Karen's like, I want to speak to the manager. And then the Darren's like, and I want to talk to the assistant manager, you know? And so I've been doing this whole thing but then on stage the other night, I see a comic who's doing really well, a black comic. I forget his name right now. Justin. He's great. Justin Hires. And out of nowhere, he's like, yeah, man, I'm like a black Karen. I'm a Darren. And I was like, well, I mean, it was just like coincidence, you know what I mean? It wasn't even and he was doing his thing, and it was hilarious. Where he was in Atlanta at a pool party, and then there was too many people in the pool, so he called the cops. But no one expected him. He's like, they're like, "Where's that Karen?" He's like, "Yeah, where is she?" Meanwhile, I'm a Darren, you know. But when I saw him do it, I was like, "Oh no!" And then I thought, well, I just won't do my Karen Darren bit tonight. But then the next night, we're both booked at the Laugh Factory. He's on stage, and he did the bit. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, you know what? Let's figure out a way to follow this. Let's figure this out. And that was actually really challenging and cool. And I did it, and it was great. And I didn't have
Well,
to,
the easiest thing to do would have been just open with, my name is Darren.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to play make-believe.
I am an actual Darren.
Exactly.
I've already reported him to the manager of this place.
Exactly.
You know, that's the easiest way on something like that. But yeah, what I'll usually do is just as a courtesy, if I have a joke that's really similar to someone else's, I'll just tell them after I see them do it. I'll go, just so you know, I'm not stealing a joke from you. This is the joke that I do, and it's very similar, but here it is, just so you know that I have a joke that's similar.
Yeah.
And that's it, you know. And I've only maybe had one guy get kind of bent out of shape that I bothered to do that, you know, but it's like, I don't know why you're mad at me for telling you that, you know, but okay, you know. But I did one time when I was still a lot younger, I had a pretty terrible joke. And in fact, it comes back to Bob Saget, where I have what I consider the two dirtiest jokes in my act. Mm. And I told the audience the day that Bob Saget died, I was like, I'd like to dedicate this set to Bob Saget. And in doing so, as we all know, he was an extremely dirty comedian. I would like to tell, in his honor, the two dirtiest jokes in my act. Would you guys like to hear them? And they go, yeah, you know. And they went really well. And then afterwards, I was like, this puts me in a weird position because now I have to wait for a comedian to die to tell these jokes every time. Otherwise, you get canceled. So we'll just have to keep waiting, you know.
Yeah.
And anyway, so when I first started out, I had done a joke that I called the cat joke, and it's pretty bad. I shouldn't tell it on here, but it ends with the cat dying, and that part is disturbing, and it always gets the audience going like, oh, no, I don't like that. And then I go, and the trouble with that is it means you can only do it 8 more times. And that always gets a huge, huge laugh. Well, a guy tried to steal the joke from me. Like, I remember seeing him in the audience watching me do the damn joke.
Yeah.
And then I saw him at another show, and I guess he had already planned to close with it before he knew I was there.
Jeez. Yeah, he's got merch printed up and the whole thing.
And he started to tell the joke, and he told the shocking, horrible part, and then he saw me and didn't tell the rest of it, so it was just disturbing. And I go, you left out the best part of my joke. And he goes, what? And I was like, the way it's supposed to end is so you can only do it 8 more times. And that got a big laugh.
That's hilarious.
Totally fucked him over, and I was so happy in that moment.
You stole his thunder.
Yeah,
You stole
I
his
really,
thunder. You stole his thunder cat.
yeah, I did.
Heyo.
And his name was Darren Carter. No,
Oh god damn. Yeah. Yeah.
that would be the worst. But
Let's yeah.
no, but that really made me happy. The only time I've been happier was because I love doing that to people that steal jokes or stuff like that, you know. But I knew a female comic that had a very unique delivery where she would do a joke and then do like kind of a weird pantomime with her body. And it was just her insecurity physicalized, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she would tell a joke and then do like scissors or do like a kick or like a weird plie or something like that, you know.
Yeah.
And it was all together. When you first see it, you're like, what is her problem? And as it goes on, it just gets funnier and funnier and funnier. Well, a girl saw her do that and basically stole all of it.
Oh.
She started doing the exact same sort of act. Well, I used to book a show out in Santa Monica, and one of my buddies booked the thief girl on the same night that I booked the genuine girl. And so I was like, oh, let's do the lineup. And so I put the original girl, right before the girl who was stealing her
Oh
physicality and
wow.
stuff. And I was like,
How'd she handle that? Did she rise
I
to
was
the
like,
occasion and be like, okay,
I was like, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. So the girl goes up, the first girl, does her act and just annihilates the room. Like, I didn't tell her any of this. I was like, just go do your thing. And she went up and just destroyed. And the audience was like having the time of their lives. The girl comes up about 3/4 into her set, the other girl, and she goes, you guys, I got to call back real early tomorrow, so I got to go and prepare for it. I would love to stay, but I can't. I got to go.
Yeah.
Bye. And ever since then, now she steals like just one kick. She kind of way toned it down. And I was like, oh, it's not ideal, but it's better.
Yeah.
You know?
That's interesting. Hey, by the way, did you ever work or know Louie Anderson?
No, I got to see him in Vegas a couple of times, and I got to meet him, and he was super nice. And at that time, he had written a book that was kind of like the pitch for his animated series, Life with Louie.
Mm.
And it was all about him and his dad. And most of the material that night was about it. And everyone got a free copy of the book, and he signed it and everything for anyone that wanted it. And I was like, that's pretty awesome.
That's cool.
I was going to stand up a lot in Vegas when I was a kid, and they, like, technically kids weren't supposed to go to stand up shows, because there's alcohol being served and stuff like that. But they were pretty cool. They were like, just we're going to monitor very closely what he's drinking and everything like that.
That's so cool. That's a big deal when you're underage, being able to be let into a place to watch adult entertainment,
I'll tell you, this will flip you out. I got to see, the Comedy Store used to have a proper show of Comedy Store comics in Vegas. And one night I got to see on one bill Jimmy Walker, Tamayo Otsuki, I'm forgetting names, Dom Irera, and Paul Rodriguez. All on one show.
Wow.
And this was like right at the height of the 80s boom. So for me, it was like, I've seen all of these people on HBO doing stand-up and stuff. And so I got to see all of them. And the show ends, everybody starts to leave. And my mom, who like knew that I really wanted to get into comedy, was like, just wait. We're just going to wait. And so we just sat there and waited, and we talked about the show. And then Tamayo Otsuki comes out and sees me, and she goes, "You're a little boy. Why are you here, little boy?" And I was like, "I want to do stand-up comedy." And she goes, "Will you come backstage and meet the other comedians?"
Oh,
And I
that's
go,
so cool.
"Sure." I was like, and now as like having done it for a while, like the the comedian that I turned into is like, "Oh, that would be kind of a hassle. You'd have to pretend you were nice and everything, and like, oh, let me sign this, reach for the stars, kiddo, or whatever,
Yeah. Hey,
But they
everybody,
all,
put everything away. We're bringing a child back
yeah,
here.
exactly.
Like it's,
But they did. They all did it, and they were all like really nice and took photos with us and everything. And it was really, really cool. And ever since then, I kind of was like, if I would go to a show, I was like, a lot of times just hang out, and they might come out,
yeah, yeah. By the way,
But
I'm gonna.
I got to see some great people
That's
in
so.
Vegas.
That's very cool. I was gonna. Well, I mean, you brought up Paul Rodriguez's name. I got to say, I'm doing a show with him tonight in a couple of hours in Burbank at Flappers, and then he asked me to play at a casino with him next Saturday. So it's great. He's like, yeah, So meet me at my place. We'll drive up, and so I'm like, that's so cool. I have not worked with him in a couple of years.
Oh, well,
So
tell him I said hi.
I will. He's great, man. He's such a.
You remember the 8-year-old boy
You
from
remember in the 80s?
40 years ago?
And I guarantee he'll say something funny like, I remember, but what did I do? Or
Yeah.
something. He'll make some joke like, it wasn't my kid, or something. I
Yeah.
don't know. That guy is so quick-witted, man. I did a gig with him and Harry Basil about 10 years ago, and it was to raise money because this is during the
Wow.
drought, and it was up at a farm. They were, going to cut off, they were going to dam a certain river, so a lot of farms would go out of business, and so we did like this fundraiser to raise awareness and stuff. And I remember we were driving, and it was somewhere near, I think that where James Dean got killed. It was like near Bakersfield, Taft, California, like out there. And my contacts were just so dry because it was so windy and like just nothing but tumbleweeds out there. And we finally found like this intersection where there was 4 gas stations, one on each corner.
Mm-hmm.
And he was so nice. We were actually in his Humvee at the time. He had a Humvee, and we drove from gas station to gas station, and none of them had Visine. And finally, we just moved on, and I think I ended up getting one, down the road somewhere. But I go, I can't believe there's no Visine out here. I mean, and then Paul goes, well, look around. There's nothing to see. I was like, oh my God, I got to remember that. They don't care. Yeah,
And you're not missing anything.
exactly. We'll just continue our dry eyes. Okay, so here's what I wanted to ask you before we wrap up. I thought this was pretty cool. For some reason, I don't know how it came up, but this morning my son asked me, he goes, Dad, do you know how long McDonald's has been around? And that got me thinking about different restaurants, and I'm going to go down a line, and listeners, you can play along if you can at least get into the ballpark within a 3-year period, we'll say. Should we go 3 years, or should we just go decade?
3 years is
3 years, okay.
more challenging.
McDonald's. Do you know when they were founded? If you were to guess.
1956.
Very good. 1955, April 15th, 1955, in San Bernardino, California. Now remember, Google's been wrong, but I'm just going off Google. So if there's
And that was by the actual McDonald brothers or Roy Kroc.
I don't know. It just says, I just go by what the answer is. I don't know. I feel like somebody and he's probably hopefully listening. Shout out to Jordan the Lion, who I will have back on really soon. He probably knows this stuff. He's so good at facts and pop, and he's another pop culture geek. He's really good at this. Okay, here we go. Next one. Burger King.
I'm going to say 1972.
The answer I see is 1954. And
Really?
And where would you see? What part of the country?
For Burger King?
Yeah. I was totally surprised by this.
Queens, New York.
It says Miami, Florida, 1954.
Wow, that is surprising.
Okay, I don't know the answer on this. Taco Bell, I'm going to guess. I'm going to say early 60s, and I'm going to say California.
Yeah, I would say like 64, maybe.
The answer is 1962, San Bernardino, California.
Yeah,
March
yeah,
20th.
that sounds right.
All right. Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A has been around since 1957.
All right. I think it's Georgia. I don't know, but I think Georgia, and I'm going to say 60s. Oh, wow. I was half right. Georgia, but the answer says May 23rd, 1946. Yeah.
A long time.
Arby's.
Arby's 1975.
Oh, yeah, that sounds good. I'm going to guess 1968, and I'm going to say, God, where do you think they came from? Probably some weird state like Pennsylvania.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Montana.
It says Boardman, Ohio, and it says 1964.
Yeah.
Five Guys.
2000 maybe.
Oh, that's funny. I looked this one up earlier, so I can't cheat. But I was actually, I knew the decade, but I don't know the city. I'll tell you. The answer is, oh yeah, it's 1986 in
Manhattan.
No, Arlington County, Virginia.
Weird.
This threw me for a loop. I didn't get this one. Was
Five
weird.
Guys sounds like an East Coast.
Yeah, isn't it like five guys that got together and
Yeah.
Oh wait, actually, Five Guys is an American fast food casual restaurant. Da, 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 da. Oh, yeah, they started out. Yeah, it doesn't really give you much more information. Jack in the Box.
64.
It says 1951 from San Diego, California.
Wow.
Popeyes.
1938.
No, 1972.
Okay.
In Louisiana. How about KFC?
Oh, Kentucky Fried Chicken has been around since 1895.
Well, according to this, it says 1952. And what state do you think they're from?
If I had to guess, Kentucky.
Correct. North Corbin, Kentucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Subway.
Oh, Subway's been around since 94.
Damn. No, not at all. You're way off.
Really? 1926.
You're still way off. 1965. And what part of the country?
New York.
Bridgeport, Kentucky.
Also Kentucky. That's strange.
This will be interesting because Hardee's and Carl's Jr. is right next to each other. So let's see. Hardee's.
86.
1960, North Carolina. Carl's Jr.
87.
No, 1941, Los Angeles.
Wait, Carl's Jr. is older than Hardee's?
Yeah.
I thought Carl was Carl Hardy.
Carl Karcher?
Carl Hardy Jr. And that's why it was called Carl's Jr.
Oh, no. See, Hardee's was started by a guy named Wilbur Hardy.
Oh, what a dumb name.
I know. And then Carl was Carl Karcher and Margaret Karcher. I remember seeing their photos in the lobby.
All the fast food people have stupid names.
I know.
Roy Kroc and...
I know.
I forget the Chick-fil-A guy's name. It's something like...
Oh, this guy's got a cool name.
S. Truitt.
Okay, I'm going to give you his name, and you're going to tell me what he runs. He was the founder. His name is Steve Ells. E-L-L-S. Steve Ells.
Steve Ells runs Dairy Queen.
Nope. He founded a Chipotle. And when do you think, about what year did Chipotle get founded?
97.
Ding, ding, ding. 1993.
Really?
1993. Oh, you might even...
Okay.
What state do you think it came from, or what area of the world or country?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Denver, Colorado.
Huh. That's interesting.
DQ, Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen has been around at least since like 1955.
Yep, 1940, Joliet, Illinois. Ooh, I never heard of this place. Culver's. I'm gonna guess. Have you ever heard of Culver's?
Culver City, maybe?
No, it's just called Culver's. I think it's another part of the country, and I'm gonna say a long time ago. So I'm gonna say in the 50s.
Sure.
Culver's. It's yeah. Oh no, 1984, and they're from Wisconsin.
I guess.
Oh, here's a good one. Have you ever heard of Denny'S?
I have. Denny's was established in 1968.
1953, Lakewood, California. How about Whataburger?
Whataburger is from Texas,
Correct.
and they were established in 1948.
Ooh, very close. 1950. I would say if you're in the right 10 years, if you're in the right decade, you get Panera Bread. To me, they sound like a newer company, Panera Bread.
Panera Bread has been around since 2021. No.
I'm going to say 80s.
I'll go 98.
Panera Bread, 1987, St. Louis, Missouri. Now, this one shocked me. I looked this one up earlier today. White Castle.
White Castle has only been around since 1979.
So I first heard of White Castle in a Beastie Boys song. Do you remember that? That License to Ill, that album in the 80s?
I do.
So I was thinking, okay, I heard about them in the 80s, and then they just kind of said their name like they just been around since, whatever. So I'm like, they've probably been around for like 20, 30 years. And, they're probably like in New York. But I was shocked. They've been around since 1921.
What?
And where do you think they're from? I was shocked on this.
Middleton, Indiana.
No, Wichita, Kansas.
I was so close.
I mean, I thought they were going to be like New Jersey, New York.
Yeah, I was like, it's farming town, like a cow town.
We got 4 more. Sonic Burger.
They scream 50s. Everything about them.
You're right. They're from 1953. In what state or what area?
Also Texas.
Close. Oklahoma. Next, Bojangles.
God. I know they've been around since I was a kid because I remember seeing them a long time ago. So I'll go further, like 65, something like that.
It says 1977, and they are from. Give up. North Carolina.
Yeah, North Carolina.
North Carolina. One more or 2 more. Shake Shack.
Shake Shack, 2019. And they're from Culver City.
Kind of close because they're from 2004, which is they're newer.
Yeah.
And they're from New York, New York.
Fine.
And their founder's name is Randy Garudi.
See, all of them, just crazy names.
Yeah. Oh no, he's the CEO. I'm sorry. The founder, his name was Daniel Meyer.
Okay.
Okay, last one. You think you could do it? Starbucks.
Okay.
My wife actually knew this one.
Starbucks has been around since 1984, and they are from Seattle, Washington.
Dude, you're correct. They are from Seattle, Washington, but you are incorrect. They were founded in 1971.
Wow.
I know. Yeah. That's
so
cool.
They predate Battlestar Galactica. I always thought it was the other way around.
Oh, wow. So they're the original Starbuck.
Yeah.
That's cool that there wasn't any kind of like lawsuit to make one of them stop.
Yeah.
I guess.
It worked out for everybody.
Well, Mike, this hour flew by, man. I want to thank you for, joining us on the podcast. And Maybe we'll, you know what we'll do, man? Because I needed a little.
I don't know.
I had to do a bunch of stuff this last week, so I didn't record one. So maybe we'll do a bonus episode, and if you've got some time and you want to jump on, maybe we'll do another one this week if that's cool.
Yeah, if you want.
Yeah, well, man.
Or I guess if the people want.
If the people demand it, if I get enough comments on YouTube, and so it is really cool though, man. When I put that up and you know, on YouTube and I'm like, oh, is anybody listening? Is anybody watching? And then you start seeing the interaction. You're like, yes, all right, we still got it. We still got it. They ain't sick of us yet. All right, we're the friends in your pocket, and you guys are great, man. Thank you for playing along and listening, and thank you, Mike, for being a part of the Pocket Party podcast. And I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, and we'll talk soon, man. Thank you.
All right, have a great one, buddy.
You got it. Bye. Well, look at you. You made it all the way through another episode. Yeah. If you guys want to help out a little bit and you want to send me something on Venmo, it's at Darren Carter Comic on Venmo. I'm also on the Cash App, $ Darren Carter Comic. PayPal is darrencarter.com. You guys are helping to keep the lights on and keep us motivated. So thank you so much. And like I said, you want to share the link. Any of the links, it helps. If you want to, you know, like an iTunes link, a Spotify link, YouTube link, it helps so much. All right, guys, it's January. I'm going to try to get a little bit of sun before the sun goes completely down. I might have about a half hour of exercise, and then I got to get ready for that show tonight. But all right, guys, you're the best. Remember, as my boxing coach says, don't hurt nobody. Don't hurt nobody. And then when I leave, be careful. Be careful. Don't hurt nobody, including yourself. I do 50 a day push-ups and sit-ups and some jumping jacks. Regardless, if I hit the gym later, if I hit the hiking trails later, at least I know I've done that. If I don't do anything else, at least I know I've done the 50. So pick a number, stick to it, write it down, and you'll be glad, because a month from now, you're like, dang it, I'm so happy I did my 20 push-ups a day or my 30 or whatever that is. You know, in the past, I went too high. I would be like, oh, I did 100. Why not do 300? And I gave up. Like 300 was just too much. It was like, I did it for like a week straight. Then I'm like, eh. So for me, the perfect number is 50. And then I'll throw an extra as a bonus. But I got to be honest, man, it transforms your body in a good way, because every day that goes by, you ain't getting younger. So, you know, that's all I can tell you, you know. Eat your vegetables, eat your fruit, take your vitamins, drink your water, feed your mind with something positive. I've been watching these YouTube videos. This one guy, I'm not even a cowboy, but he had a video called Cowboy Up. And he was just talking about some of the hurdles that they would have on the, you know, out there on the range. And I mean, this guy's way tougher than I am. But it was interesting to hear him say, well, I had to cowboy up. The horse bucked me, and it was my own fault, and turned out, come to find out, I had 3 cracked ribs. But I went in and I popped 5 Bayer aspirin, and I finished my job. I had to cowboy up. And I was like, and he just said how we need to, you know, as Americans and as the world, we need to stop being weaklings. We need to cowboy up. And that made me think, you know, that's true. We got to cowboy up. So, I just take his phrase. Yeah, cowboy up, even though I'm not a cowboy. I drive a Honda, but you know, at the beginning of the podcast, my wife had the dishwasher running, and I thought, oh man, should I just wait? And I thought, no, let me cowboy up. I know I'm not riding a wild bronking buck with broken ribs, but I'm recording a podcast, and there's a dishwasher running in the background. Well, I'm gonna cowboy up and call Mike Black. I cowboyed up. All right, now I'm just rambling. You guys are great. Don't hurt nobody. Be careful. Cowboy up. Start that party in your ear holes and in your life. All right, guys, we'll talk to you. Can you tell I'm lonely right now? I'm like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. This is fun. All right, you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye. Maybe we'll do another bonus. If the audience demands it, we'll do another bonus this week.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to the Pocket Party.